shift. So if there is going to be a larger consumer base in emerging markets, it stands to reason that you're going to have innovation that fulfills their desires, their, the products that need to cater to them. And then you have the globalization shift, wherein I'm sure all of you read a lot, and I can see that you're very, very well informed. I would have interacted with many, many Indian companies. I don't remember meeting a single organization where they do not have some amount of interests globally. Either the market is globally or they're buying global firms. So everybody's got a footprint. The Indian companies have a footprint that goes way beyond India. And of late, I'm interacting with a power company. Coal is a problem with them, and they've gone and bought mines in godforsaken countries like Australia. They're evaluating a coal mine in the continent of Africa, Canada, and they're saying it's so difficult to procure coal here. We'd rather buy a coal mine and bring coal back to India to fulfill. So what I'm trying to say is that these are the three larger shifts that are being defined today. Growth is pretty much going to be pegged in and around these, and just to understand the consumer shift better. In the year, these are the top 10 companies, and if you look at this, and I'm sure you would have numbers here, there is going to be something called a new global middle class. And as you define the new global middle class, you see that in the year of the Lord 2030, India would have 20% of the new global middle class is going to be part of that. And if you look at 2009, we're not even there in the reckoning. So these are the top 10. And if you look there, so India and China, between the two of them, 41% of the consuming class, which I'm assuming is the new global middle class, is going to be residing in these countries. And again, it stands to reason that most of your R&D efforts and most of your technology is going to be focused towards this class. So no longer are we really focused on looking and developing products which are going to go and cater to the Western world. We have a very, very robust Indian consuming class, which we experience on a daily basis. It's only going to grow. It's only going to be more demanding. And it's only going to have more and more products that are going to be value-conscious consumer class is going to consume those products. So the R&D efforts earlier on are going to have some kind of a sea change, and we're already beginning to see that happening in most of the companies. If I were to just carry this argument ahead, I'd like you to note this very carefully. If you look at the businesses today, and if I were to divide that businesses with saying 12% of the companies or the businesses which have no plans to invest could very well be in products which only cater to the urban. Maybe over time, even that is going to go through a shift. But if you look at invested in rural markets for more than 5 years, 23% of the businesses have indeed seen this opportunity coming 5 years plus back. And plans to invest within the next 3 years is about a 22%. So the shift is already underway. It's seriously underway. And you're seeing that you can no longer ignore something called the rural market, loosely defined. So from A, B, C, D, I mean, there's a whole lot of classification and categorization. Businesses are fairly comfortable going right down to the smallest kasbah, to the smallest rural consumer, and ensuring that this is where my opportunity for my business growth lies in the future, looking out into the future. But that's not the only opportunity that the rural market provides us. There are plenty of other opportunities that it provides us. And if you were to look at on the other side of the slide, you can see that sourcing, definitely yes, but we still need, there's a huge amount of investment that needs to be made for that sourcing to be commercially viable, for us to be able to procure products from the rural markets and be able to bring them in quick time. gaining access to cheap labor pools. Now you also have the government which is focused on the labor, and there's enough and more subsidies that have been given to the rural country folks, and that necessitates them from not really wanting to move very far away from their homelands, and that shift is already underway. Narega and schemes and others in the same domain have contributed hugely to that. And what does that mean? That means that is there something called a cheap labor pool? Or has that level of that cheap labor pool, has that got redefined? And I must share this with you, and this is very contextual. Nokia is a client of mine. You would argue and say that's not the best brand to be involved with, but definitely I think it's a fabulous company, global company, great managerial talent. They just didn't see things coming their way at the right time, and maybe they lost out. My sense is, and I think the analysts would agree with me in that, is that they may just come back and strike, you never know. You never know. Whereas, having said that, I was having this conversation with the sales and marketing head of Nokia. He runs a P&L which exceeds, it's enormous. And as they study trends and patterns of where their sales are coming from and where they're focused into, and this came as a bit of a surprise for me. Sitting in Delhi, working with all the elite clients, you really do not have a very, very good idea of what happens in the rural land. But having said that, the numbers showed them that India is already, in handsets, a replacement market. Are you aware of that? So everybody's replacing the handsets. Not only us, but the guy right down there in Rajamundry who tills the land is also a replacement market. He is also going through his next handphone or maybe the next one. And guess what? When he's picking up the next handphone, he's not interested in just voice. He doesn't want just voice. He wants photographs, he wants music. That's huge out there. So look at the price points there. From a price point of a handset that's sold between 2,000 and 3,000 per piece, now the handset has moved up to, you won't even imagine that, between 5 and 8,000. No longer is that guy who's tilling the land interested in a 2,000 rupee handset. He's interested in a 5 to 8,000. That would help you understand that there is money that's finding its way down to the last mile. It is at a discretionary expense of the person. We may hear many things. Nokia may have a limited market, but they're managing to reach their market and they're redefining their market base as well. So when you talk about gaining access to cheap labor pools, I'm really wondering whether by the time we move ahead, 5 years now down, 10 years down, is there something going to be a cheap labor pool? Or if it is cheap, will we have a redefinition of cheap? Just like we're going to have a redefinition of the poverty line. So what I'm trying to say here is that the rural market offers opportunities that go across the value chain. I'll have to hurry this up now. Just a little bit on innovation shifts. International companies, R&D efforts, R&D, money that's being committed to India is growing by the day, and we can see that happening. We're beginning to see a lot of innovation happening in this space. We're beginning to see, we've all seen small sachets, small oil. All of those sachets have been part of our lives for the last few years. That is going to just grow and grow and grow, and we're going to see more innovations that are going to cater to that new global middle class, which is going to be 23% as far as India is concerned, as the statistics say. So what does that mean? And I'm calling India 2.0, if you recollect in my slide, 2010 to 2020 is what I'm going to call India 2.0. Will require a new breed of leadership, and I'm going to define this leadership a little bit. Today, as I interact with organizations, functional technical skills are still what we all focus on. But when you're going towards climbing the ladder, they start becoming redundant, and that's one thing that's actually no longer relevant when you're getting there. The ability of an Indian leader to be comfortable in a cross-cultural setting, there are miles to go. Organizations would any day bank upon a multinational person who comes in here, their ability to understand India is seen to be far greater than our Indian counterparts' ability to be able to understand them. So the cross-cultural piece actually is a huge impediment for Indians taking on the global jobs. And there are a battery of tests, and that's probably not enough. Coca-Cola India has about 92 people in their top leadership, and this is across grades 10 and all, it's that entry managerial level to above. And they focus enormously on, and they rotate their people across their multiple